Hello, everybody. Your old friend Theta, the monotone messiah, in his new and improved form. I was using an avatar before, which was pretty unanimated. And I'm a brain in a vat, so I have to be willing to show you guys something. Brain in a vat's not very interesting. I just live in this little red void. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Mayhem's recent match against Peacekeepers. Joining me today is JamesBowk,
A
co-captain of
younger
Mayhem.
version.
Yes,
A little bit
he's actually
cleaner, younger version.
he has now removed at least 10 years of aging just by doing that. It's a magic trick.
Magic.
All right. So, if anybody has any preliminary questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But in the meantime, we are going to drop straight into the footage because I know that's what everybody tuned in here for. So, let me just switch over the window here. Okay. So, starting out, James, let's talk about. I guess my avatar is kind of banning, kind of banning the other side's ban, but that wasn't accurate anyway. So let's talk about the bans and the logic behind them.
Right. So first of all, Peacekeepers, their ban was actually Suburbia. There was a miscommunication between Naru and Seaquick. Suburbia is an interesting ban because that's normally what we ban. So we're like, oh, okay, that's fine by us. Not sure what to read into that. Whether they just didn't feel like playing it, or whether they thought we had secret strats on Suburbia, maybe. Which we obviously do. We definitely are the best team at Suburbia. Do not. I think you should all ban Suburbia against us. But our ban had some thought behind it. So we haven't really had a chance to practice at all on custom maps. So yeah, Sand. So we thought there's two custom maps in play, Quest and Sand. Sand has a lot more variables and is a lot more, can be very brutal if you do not know all the little spots, and everything can occur within 10 seconds, and there's caps going on and all that sort of stuff. So Sand was the more logical ban over USS Quest. We were aware of Peacekeepers' reputation on USS Quest. It is a map they enjoy playing. It's a map they pick, and it's a map they're very good on. But it was the less risky of the two, we felt, based on our skill set. So yeah, that was the reasoning behind the bans.
Skip this a little further ahead.
And
Oh,
we were home, so map 1, Subway. You know it's going to happen.
Right, and the first objective was Chinatown, and because we were home, Sock first.
All right, so Chinatown. No, was it Chinatown first objective? It is Chinatown. Okay, I was just thinking this is a weird approach for Chinatown, but yep. Yeah, Chinatown. It's just about encircling the objective, getting control. One thing we were working on here was getting better timing on our north and our south attacks. Well, often our north is a little bit quicker than the south because we have less to get control of and less to clear. And so we were holding off in the north a lot, as you can see. Probably shouldn't have chucked my nades so early. Did result in a kill and a down, but it might have been better doing that as we were actually approaching because, yeah, if we'd known, we'd actually opened the objective up here and we could have gone for a cap. Obviously, we can't see that, and we didn't push in afterwards. I don't know if my nades have hit at all. Maybe should have held the corridor at that point. Something to consider. Or hold off on the grenades next time until south is more established. A better confusion device then. Yeah.
I think some of this worked out pretty well though, because as we just saw, Defilade got virus in Horseshoe, which was creating some confusion, I would imagine, because first you have a grenade kill coming from the north, then you have a kill coming from the south, or technically the middle. And they have to think about, okay, all these different angles we have to cover now. Where is this attack really coming from?
This objective on attack is quite a It's quite a good one. You can do the encirclement attack, or you can go for the 5-man push, really aggressive, get control type attack. Within like the first 20 seconds, you can be pretty much on objective or very close. So it does have some variety, and you need to be wary of that on defense. Um, yeah, Mono could have acted as spotter for those grenades, especially as a left-hander. That's why Mono's there. He's a lefty. He can hold that next line. I think we're just a little bit wary of C4s and stuff. Though I think a C4 went off before we even went down there. Um, yeah, suggest Mono might want to be holding the next corner um, down the corridor. He could then have finished off Nadu, especially as a left-hander. He can do a little peek over and then come back. Something to consider for next time, maybe.
I feel like that's something that gets kind of overlooked. It's the use of right and left-handers in different positions. That's something we think about a lot, but I don't know if I've ever come across another team, at least that's talked to me about it, that really cared about that. But yeah, there are certain angles which are better suited right or left.
Yeah. It's that final approach onto objective there is the key for which hand it is, and so that's what you assign based upon. So that's why one of the main reasons Mono both attacks north for north stairs and attacks north for Chinatown, because they're left-hand dominant corners.
Yeah, let's not forget who the truly superior are, which is the people who are right-handed but left-eye
Cross-eye
dominant.
dominant, yeah. The
Truly the
18
chosen ones.
percenters.
That's the 18% of the population, which is destined to rule.
So in the north, we're just waiting. I think I put a smoke down there. Yeah, they did put a smoke down there. There's a bit of confusion. We were communicating with the south, and then when they were pretty much ready, you can see us moving as well. Mono moves in. Maybe should have waited for the smoke to clear before moving the last part. He did wait for it to clear. Not sure what happened on his push. I just saw him die in front of me.
Yeah, and this one was a little dicey. I actually messed up right there. It worked out, but it's one of those plays where it's like it could have very easily gone the other way. Because I was clearing. You can see right here, I was clearing the opposite side to make sure nobody was waiting for us. You can even see it on the map over here. But I ended up being a little too disconnected from Wookiee when he came out. He ended up trading, which worked out. But if he had not, I was not in position to refrag. And then this was key. The fact that you were downed here made a huge difference because I didn't know what was going on in the center. I didn't really get any communication from anybody. And then you said that he's right on the objective. And so I just kept my reticle there and caught the last defender.
That's what happened. I was wondering what happened. I knew there was something at the end which happened, which made me feel more comfortable with. I don't think I realized that we lost Deflate and Wookiee, to be honest. I knew we'd lost Mono because I'd seen him die right in front of my eyes, but I didn't realize we lost Deflate and Wookiee, so it was a lot closer than I thought that round was. I thought that round was a bit more dominant coming from the south. Yeah, but it was a comfortable-ish round win.
Yeah, it worked out, but I think people need to understand, especially at this level, wins can come down to just a hair, and sometimes the scoreline looks ultra dominant, but it's like, if you didn't watch the rounds, you can feel that way, but if you watch the rounds, you're like, wow, this was actually a pretty close game. I feel like that can happen a lot because it does come down to like 1v1. Maybe a little bit of bad timing or something.
Yep. So we are running a more compressed defense here. Again, Mono left-hander running that corner, Deflate running the other. Something to note. The one thing I adjusted here is we're not running a normal positioning, so I can't run my normal position in quite the same way because. Do I adjust for this one? I might not adjust for this one. I should have adjusted for this one. I think I've hidden myself to the southeast approach. In my position, I don't want to be the first person seen as they come in through that southwest approach. I want to cover the north, but not if I'm up against that dumpster. As they come around that southwest approach, they can see me before Wookiee can take them on. So here I am now. Yeah, there I've dropped back to a position which is better suited for that. I'm able to cover the north and not get seen from the southwest. Deflate's got a C4, nice work. Unfortunately, you can't get a refrag. It's the problem with C4s; they are often just a down. Um, Something to consider in placement. That'd have been a frag, would have been brilliant. It wasn't. It still would have resulted in a bit of blinding for Deflate. But you can see Mono and DFA just periodically peaking, maybe a little bit too much, but they're ready.
And on this objective, my position is I'm basically the last bastion if everything around me fails. This is one of those objectives I don't mind if I don't get any kills, because if I get kills, it means somewhere on our defense we folded.
Yeah, that's why it's important to not give that much credence to kill count, like not kill count, to how many, your KD ratio and all that sort of stuff, because it doesn't take into account critical positions like Theta's. And Theta's position is a really high pressure one. So Theta and I are intended to be the last sort of men. Maybe Theta and Wookiee, maybe more so. It depends on where their attacking lines come from. Deflate and Mono are more of first engagement type people. Yeah, on that objective. I
Sure,
like
buddy.
defending that objective. Yeah, I kind of like attacking it as well, but I really like defending that objective. Um,
That's one of those objectives I feel like we have a pretty strong advantage on, is because we all feel comfortable spots there.
so this one here, the casters made a comment about this being a good move. I'm personally not a huge fan of this.
Well,
We should have, in a
we
better scenario, we would have shut him down before he even got there because we didn't quite take the best route to get the covering line to cover that. But once you're in there, you're trapped. Like the cast, I think it came up in the cast that he could just retreat. There is no retreat from there. You committed, and we know that's a free kill, so we just take our time. 6 minutes on the clock, get that free kill first, and then continue our attack. And so we commit three people to it.
and the thing is,
Um,
he was ID'd so fast that he wasn't getting out of that. So that was going to be a kill for us. Maybe he takes one with us if he's lucky, but we were surrounding him. And as you'll see, Defilate's coming from one angle, I'm going to the other.
I can watch either. If someone dies and then he pushes out from that direction to try and get a rotation based on the kill, I can see both of the exits from my location. So that's what I'm doing from mine, and I know that Theta and Deflate are doing that. The weird thing here is that shot, which got the kill, sounded like it was up top, which was really weird for me. Subway noise being weird. So hence us probably sounded the same for Deflate because we were all still holding our lines on the position, and then eventually we get confirmation that he's killed. Theta did call something out, but it didn't immediately register that that was that person we killed.
So
And
we're
then yeah,
at,
it's a 4v5 attack now,
yep.
or 5v4.
On an objective where losing somebody is so devastating, that's why would not have sent a flanker like that personally.
Um, Might have been a different story if we got the North spawn. He might have continued his push through or something. Maybe there was an intent. And maybe the fact that we didn't get there quick was the reason we got him. Because he thought that we didn't get that south spawn, so he pushed through to the secondary position. Sometimes not being quick off the mark is a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Next encounter, there's Nado. Always good to make a bunch of noise and stuff as you come up to this because there's going to be C4 somewhere. Often it'll get triggered prematurely. And it does, very prematurely. Maybe the sound was off a bit. Maybe we'll answer that Lego between rounds. I think might be easier. So here I knew they were in there. I could hear them. I thought there was only one, but I could hear inside there. So I'm clearing that. I've been killed by the little alcove before, so I clear that carefully first. for mono from one direction, and then mono can push through. Um, and then I can deal with clearing the other normal spots players can be. I don't want to expose myself to more than one spot. That's the first time I've thrown that. I need to see whether I don't even know if it went all the way over. It sounded like it exploded on the ground, but I don't think it went all the way over. I need to practice that at some point. Because that is actually a throw where I don't know how far to go. So I called there, Mono and I worked together. I called that I got flashed, even though it didn't get flashed, and I pushed backwards and got Mono to hold the corner as a left-hander, which worked well. Pushing through smoke at the moment is really hard because you're blinded longer than you emerge. So I think that's why Wookie got there. Great regroup here. I think I tagged Fume once. I'm not 100% sure, but then I got taken out. So 2v2 on this attack. You want to be moving from different directions really, and it's more about timing.
We're about to see my masterful smoke throw here. Yeah, my throws are not fantastic.
And you can see why I get grenades from Theta.
Yeah. I just take smokes so I can just ceremoniously have something on my vest when I run in.
So great call here by Mono. Diverts Theta back with the split. That was critical for this round one. And then just a slight. So the one thing which I change on this attack is really good. The one thing I'll change is the point in which Theta calls out that we're at Delta 4, or 4 enemies dead. Mono should be breaking this corner. So the point at which, as soon as Theta gets the kill, there's a point at which the defense needs to adjust, and we know that there's only one remaining. So Mono should establish control of that next corner. He's still crouched, still crouched, still crouched. Too long. And then gives away his position. So that'd be the one thing I changed. Got a bit lucky. He got the kill with his last bullet as well. Click, click, click.
Timing was just a little bit off, and he even apologized in the tent. He was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't get there faster." It just, it's really hard to get that timing down. I called out the last kill, but he had some distance to cover, and he was going a little too slow. It happens, and it worked out. I probably shouldn't have double peeked that corner too. I probably should have held back until I had a slightly better idea of where Mono was, so I had some responsibility there as well. Like you said, great call by Mono. I was getting a little bit of tunnel vision, and we were going in the same direction. He was like, "Hey, we should split up," and that was the right call in that position.
Especially with long cross lines across an objective like that. And the fact that the defense are aware that they can't really easily cover all cap spots with the last man. So if you do get one pick, there will be a rotation of some form. Aggressive push initially with some suppressive fire. We knew that you couldn't get that cross, so we didn't try for it. We've got some adjustment. Yeah.
I saw there were some questions in the chat. We'll address that after this when the map ends. We'll do a quick pause and answer some of those.
Definitely shouldn't have picked that. His position was better as a later ambush. He didn't need to be trying to control that zone. He could have tucked in. Or we might even pull him out of that position because it's going to start to get fragged a lot.
And you can
one thing see quick coming. One thing which on this defense we ran something differently than we normally do. We normally have someone watching those south stairs. Things got adjusted. I should have been watching it, and I was watching north. Yeah, I got distracted. Not good. Should have been watching the south stairs. You'll see what happens, but it shouldn't have occurred.
No, you don't, Defilade. No, you don't.
Do what I want.
To their credit, it was a high-risk play, but they did identify a weakness. You can even see it here on the map. You can see like James looking away here. Like we were concerned because there was a big attack coming from the north.
Yeah.
Seaquick is just creeping down from the south.
I did the one thing which I get one thing I get pissed off about a few things, but one thing which I get quite annoyed with is I got fixated on the noise and the fight rather than just holding my line and doing my job to watch my team's back. Because that Seaquick would normally be a free kill. He exposes his feet first as he comes to the bottom of the stairs. I can be tucked right in. He's got to come up those stairs completely out of cover. And that's a free kill right there. Yeah, I'm checking it periodically, but when you're not checking it, when you're not holding a line, you may as well. Yeah, if you're not holding a line all the time, you're not holding that line at all, really.
That pick on Deflate and felt good about their initial aggression, because that was what it was going for. James nearly goes down. Nardu almost finds the shots there. Has to take a bit of a healing moment to drop back, and Nade comes in. That's a good flash. Does catch Virus.
That's interesting. I don't know how planned that was, because I think he started firing after the flash. I think he got flash and started shooting. And here we go. This is where things start to kind of get dicey. I'll pause it here so we can kind of savor the analysis. So walk us through what's happening here.
So, suppress shots harder here. Potentially weren't heard when I got killed. He's running suppress on AK5C. But if you do notice suppress shots, no one on our team runs a suppressor, so that's an immediate cue right there. Whether you can identify an AK5C from an AK12, you should be able to at this stage after the sound's been around for so long, but sometimes you don't. So I die, no reaction to that. Understandable. Wookiee dying, this reaction from Mono is on point perfectly. You can see immediately when Wookiee dies, he is reacting to the main critical zone, which he knows that we don't have cover, where the shots come from, clears that, and then they know the shots coming from the north, and we know with a team like Peacekeepers, it's going to be a timed attack. They're going to move at the same time. So if something's occurring somewhere else, something else is occurring. So, yeah.
I just want to see that in full speed one more time, because as we were talking about before the stream, it looked a lot cooler than it felt at the time, because I was just in that little alley and I realized after looking at my tablet that our south defenders were dead. Adjustment from Mono. This is when I get up, and then I just happen to run into Nardu coming around the corner.
That looks so good.
Yeah,
it looks so well timed. With the lasers on especially. Just, yes.
Something just clicked right there. It was incredible. Hopefully it makes it onto the highlight reel. See.
Yeah, definitely be submitting that one.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So we actually had the bug where the moment you get back into the tent, it just jumps to a map. It jumped automatically to cargo, so we had to rehost.
And then we were trying to get, so we had a team which is better suited to the custom map team, being, let's get Cappy in. He loves custom maps. And Skyjoker. So Theta plays round one. I feel like you hit him there.
I did, but just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just in for one round until Cappy could get in. So he comes in for my spot right after this. So I'm not going to have a lot to contribute as part of the analysis.
The positions on that, we were meant to have 4 on the right. We to make this clear, we haven't played Quest. Pretty much, that's a pretty blanket statement. We haven't played Quest. We don't have any strats for it. We just haven't played it, except in the custom map tournament where we played it once.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just going to pause because Apollo just brought up a good point. We said we were going to do the questions after the map.
Yeah.
And we just went straight ahead.
Straight into it. Right. I'll go back up to the first one. I think the first one was from Lego. He says, from what I've seen, you guys are very connected to one another. Does that happen naturally, or have you guys practiced it? Also, do you think teams should practice connection between teammates? What do you think, Theta?
Yeah, I think it's just something, it's one of those, for lack of a better term, kind of an intangible. It's very hard to give explicit instructions on how to do that. A lot of it just comes down to chemistry between people, having people who think the same way about the game. It doesn't mean you have a groupthink situation where everyone's identical. It's fault, so to speak. But like the Mayhem guys, we've been playing together for a long time. Is it like something like?
Yeah.
and we've been practicing and competing together. Yes, we have to make adjustments sometimes, but just by virtue of the fact that we've been through so much, and we've also failed a bunch together, that's also critical. Like when you have a game that falls apart, you sit back and say, all right, what happened there? And then let's make sure that doesn't happen again. It's really, really, really hard to do that in your first season. I would argue you shouldn't expect that.
No, not at all. That's that's why I rank team is I've got like a list of 5 things, which when people ask me, what should they do with their team, I send them this list of 5 things in terms of what I value, and teamwork and communication. They're the top things, and that's really hard to get. And that's why it's better to choose, in my opinion, better to choose not purely based on skill. It's good to have some skill, but it's people you get on with. People who have the right mindset. Uh, yeah, because you can't teach that stuff. You can teach skill, you can teach position, you can teach strategy, all that sort of stuff, but you can't teach that that mindset. And so you see, yeah, like you see players switching teams, especially after like you see a loss, and then straight after a loss, you see the roster channel, a few people going, you're like, okay. Um, Maybe eventually they'll find the fit for them. Maybe it wasn't the right fit. Maybe it was the reaction from the loss, which is why they did it. But yeah, losses are important. You learn a lot from losses, as Theta said, and team is most important. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I would even argue that if I came across a team culture filled with sore losers, I would automatically just never even consider joining. Because, look, you don't want to deprive yourself of the benefits of failure. It sounds kind of cliche, but that's the truth. People want to win all the time. I want to win. James wants to win. But you don't get to that place without a lot of failure. And maybe it's small scale failure, like you just missed an angle or something. Maybe it's a large scale failure. Maybe you blew a few matches or something. Whatever. You have to go through that cycle. That's why I always tell people in their first season, as hard as it is to internalize this, I'm sure I probably didn't even internalize it very well. In your first season, it's not about winning. It's truly about figuring out the game, figuring out what you want out of a team, building up experience together. And I wish I could just make people understand like it's such a beautiful thing to be in that stage. Like it's fun to be in that early stage of your development because you can fail a lot and no one cares.
mm,
Uh, Now that might sound a little trite, but like with Mayhem, if we drop a big game, we have to hear about it and like we're gonna feel bad about it. There's just a lot more pressure. Whereas if we were just a random bronze team, like, okay, you lost a match, like what did you learn from it? Probably a really constructive experience for you. That's the kind of stuff that I think about at least when ask me those questions. Let's see. I just want to make sure any other questions here I missed. Oh, Apollo wanted to ask what kind of software you're using for tracking. No, it's just a webcam. It's a piece of software called VC Face. I don't see any other questions, so I'm just gonna run with it for now. By the way, thank you, Navaste, and I will get the footage rolling again. So
Center may
we
have an
go.
exposed Death Blade as he pushes up to the side here. Doesn't see Death Blade. The Hesco box is just denying him vision. There's the spot. Quick finds the kill. He's going to push up. Sky Joker.
so yeah, as you can tell, you might be able to tell we don't really know what we're doing here.
A huge pickup. James with
Um,
another kill. There's a good pickup from rushers, and in a crazy
we
back
just was
and
like, we don't
forth,
want to get capped
we're
on.
into the first minute of this series.
When
Sky
you
Joker in a
attack
moment
on this,
looks
this
left.
map
Spot
is
is
at the
going
moment,
to
especially
move.
with
And
less
rushers
established
immediately
strats,
coordinate. They don't have to though, as Fume finds the
is an
flank and
attack-centric
finds the
map.
kill. Great catch
In my
by
opinion,
One Done.
it's
What a
yeah.
round. I
There's
mean,
lots of angles you can
let's
get
see
to,
action.
which can get
Peacekeepers deployed some
flanks
smokes
onto
in
a
the mid lane.
lines across
Right, that
objective,
long
flanks from
angle
behind,
for
all
as
this
long
sort of
as
stuff.
that
So it's
That's
quite Marsoc heavy to the
very
point where
good
it's
play
almost
from
worth
Done.
picking
Let's
Marsoc
see another kill
if you're confident on
across the
this map.
map.
So at
It's
the moment, with
and
you can see
let's
why
see how
teams do pick
Peacekeepers
it
defend this one.
because
As
at the
they look
moment
to
you get Marsoc
get
when you pick because
that
people
marking
just
chip.
automatically choose
Both
bulk.
going towards that right side lane.
Um,
Offensive smoke from Fume to the middle.
yeah.
They're not. I don't think they're going to get very aggressive. Doesn't look like it, at least.
That'd be
So attack was
fascinating.
intent.
For the Mayhem.
Intent was to be more methodical and just because we knew we could get to these
Defensive
clearing lines
smokes coming down.
across
I talked about
and
those
just
smokes
take
giving
our time and
dry
clear them.
vision on lanes. This is
work our way through.
What I'm talking about. I expected it to be
So yeah,
used
we're
in
just being
offensive
very methodical,
capacity,
clearing a
but
couple of
it's
spots with
usually
grenades.
wasted in
They didn't hit
those
because they weren't
where
using those
taken
spots,
from
but
Mayhem.
it's
They
good to clear them because then you know you don't have to worry about them.
inside that center,
Um,
and it's allowed
we can
the
just work our way up.
Peacekeepers to get comfortable and set up and get ready
So this is
for the
clearing.
aggression.
That's clearing the purple. There's a little good corner on the side corner of that purple one, which I threw towards.
Yeah, James is trying to thread some
And then
nades
I want to clear the
again, but
backside of this
they're not
purple
quite
green
hitting.
double
This
stack.
one might get close to Squirfy. Nope,
Which
just
it
a little
does
too
clear the
far
backside,
once
so he's not
again.
on that. He's one step back from that, behind the
Yeah, and I mean,
concrete
you
thing.
talked about it, Etch. This is most likely a Peacekeepers pick because they very much practice this map and they're hoping to get that knowledge advantage on Mayhem.
Yeah, working
So
quite well
far,
together
with
here,
what I'm
Cappy and
seeing, that
myself, with sort
defensive
of
setup,
covering
it
complementary
seems to
lines,
be
using
very
cover
much a practice
to
setup
not
here
expose ourselves to
in
additional
this
lines
one.
wherever
I think
possible.
this is going to be a tough entry for
We could get
Mayhem.
flanked on technically from
Everybody
down in
is
the
holding
drop
very
down, but it'd
nice
be a
angles that are
risky flank.
they're angles that Mayhem has to cross out into. They're not necessarily opening themselves
Did
up
Cappy hear
to
Squirfy?
any kind of kills. The nades are raining
I
in,
don't know
but
what he's
they're
saying
just
to me
not
there.
quite finding their targets. And so
Yeah.
Peacekeepers have
So
a
it's just getting
chance
those
to
lines. You can see lasers crossing
as I
across
say
the
that,
map,
Wookiees
working our
picking
way up.
just a touch as Squirfy goes
Clearing slowly.
Yeah, and that's their
You know,
first
slowly
pick of the
moving your
game.
line of
The
attack
right
up.
side is a little bit
That's
soft. They
mainly
make an entry for Cappy and
when you don't
James.
really have an established strat. That's what we're
And
just
I'm
trying to do.
surprised they haven't gotten
Just
any
work
power
together
finishes
instead.
that Cappy jumps on it.
Though there are some really good team pushes on this you can do, but that requires practice.
Pushing in now on the left, and he's found rushers. It's going to open up this side entry. See Quick and Fume, the lone defenders left into a 2v4. The res has come in, so Defalate's back up. Fume's trying to defend against Sky, who swings wide. Cappy goes down, so See Quick still left.
So we had a good kill count here. We knew there was one left. And I didn't want Joker getting picked off before I was in position, so I called a Joker hold at this point, because it's better for me. Actually, no, I called a hold after he shoots, because he shot, and I'm like, sweet, the defender now knows he's there. So I say, Joker, just hold. I'll get in position from behind, because the defender won't see me coming from there. I don't explain it all out. All I just say is Joker, hold. And you can see him, he just holds. Maybe would have said hold somewhere looking across the objective a bit more, but it meant just don't try and push to engage, because if he picks off one at a time rather than us working as a team with those cross lines, especially with him being more distracted by the position which is recently shot, it would have been a bad thing if we'd been picked off one at a time. So was the intent for that call out, and that was a good way to just finish up that round. And that gave us a bit of confidence, getting a point on USS Quest. This position, so Skyjoker got that was probably the triple peak when he got picked. He's the first pick of the round, so that'll be the first thing you see. He gets like triple picked, shoulder picked quick, rapidly. They have a Fume.
Yeah, you can see it. Fume bouncing around containers.
As soon as that occurs, the first peak occurs, Skyjoker should just pull off this position. He doesn't need to hold that line, because you can pre-fire that position and that results. So as soon as the first shoulder peak occurs, the surprise element of that position is removed, and he should just pull off it. This move here is not one we were ready for. We thought you had to drop down into the, and I'm not sure if it's actually one which should be legal, but we didn't bring it up, obviously. We thought you couldn't get past that red container, so we had our lines, and we knew where the ramp up was, so we had our lines based upon that. So the fact he got around that red container in a way we were not anticipating meant that our defense was severely compromised, and it resulted in the collapse. Because we specifically talked about where that ramp came up, and the fact that they can't get up, red container blocks, and they can't get up until that ramp. So a little bit frustrating that occurred, but that's the game sometimes.
Like you said, it's just a heavily Marsoc oriented map. Peacekeepers are putting that on display.
Massively.
I'm just on a rampage gifting subs. Thank you for that.
Jeez, Rev.
Very long angles on the edges. So a very different defense.
Right.
We watch as I think James is preparing some nades.
If you think there's anyone who would appreciate watching this, feel free to let them know that it's occurring as well.
got 23 viewers right now, so this is even more popular than the last stream we had.
I
Appreciate
was
everybody for tuning in.
when I watched the cast, I was so happy with that grenade. Did you see where it landed? Oh, it's exactly where I wanted it to. If you go back like 10 seconds. Just because it didn't result in a kill, so I was like sad because it's not going to be a highlight. But this nade was like exactly where I wanted it to land.
But will they land where he's predicting?
Yeah, one thing we've really
Ooh,
seen.
yeah, I can see because it's right in between the Heskos where Joker was.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yep.
that was beautiful.
Because and there was a danger. That's why I make that cross straight after that frag lands. Because there's a line which can see my cross there. I then Dave had a line further back. I don't know all the lines on this map, so I don't know where I'm exposing myself to. I knew that line because last time we played Peacekeepers, I got shot by it. But then I don't know this line where I die next, so I get shot by it this time. Now I do know this line, and I'll adjust next time. So that's where learning from every time you die really comes into play. You can see I'm not ready for it, and I'm like, oh shit, he's way back. So yeah, one thing on USS Quest, it's going to be all about those lines where you can see through and bisect the map. Once you know those better. This, oh god, that could have ended so much worse. If Seaquick had popped that corner.
Yeah, that
This
could have
whole run
been,
had some messy moments.
that could have been so ugly, but
Mhm.
yeah.
It was quite bunched.
We'll see if Mayhem can push up
Oof.
through the rest of this defense. 4v4.
Well, he got lucky like so many times in this match.
Being subbed in for Virus here, looking for
Thinking about the cross like this and then also snow peek. Deflate and Joker maybe could have used some utility here. I'm not sure if they do use it.
A bit of a pause in momentum from the Mayhem offense, something that you haven't seen yet on this map. There's a good swing and a great hip fire.
Peacekeepers definitely had a way better defense setup than we did on this. We got a little bit lucky this round. Our defense on this objective was lacking. I didn't know what we're doing at all, really.
I think Joker was saying in that moment his gun was going. Shoot.
Oh, okay.
Because they were touching each other.
Oh, yeah, into his body. Yeah. He did say that in the tent. So I was already in the tent because I was dead.
I was watching Mono in voice chat. Watching the cast.
In the past.
6 minutes behind it.
So I think Rushers did not have a good count there at the end. I think Nardu
You were out? What do you mean, Defilade?
2 kills.
An interesting series. I mean,
Oh, out of utility, I think.
Out of utility, I gotcha. Yep.
All the way down near those Heskos.
Nice. Yeah, it's a hard one to clear up that red alley. They can peek up and over on you. There could be C4, all that sort of stuff, but it's a great one to get control of if you can. This defense got a bit excited at points because I was very worried about them trying to cap because they're on 2 points at the moment. So especially with the suppressor fire and stuff, and with smoke and all that fun stuff which occurs, they were could have jumped off the ship there.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, there were points where I was worried. See, here I wasn't worried about the integrity of the objective, so I pushed out to peek it, and that resulted in me dying. And then it's just trade, and then nice clutch. So it all happened really quickly. But the main thing we were not wanting is them capping the objective there, because that would have been map win, no opportunity to come back. Ooh, this round. You'll see why this round.
Another shout out to Nev. Thank you again. I appreciate you.
Able to just barely avoid that frag radius. Another frag comes in towards objective from the other tree.
Oh, I just love that nade land exactly where I wanted it to.
That was like a Theta quality smoke right there, guys.
Where is it?
Right off the boat. It went right off
the
boat.
Oh no. Oh no. Nice, holding this line, ready for it. Good work. Unfortunately, he couldn't get a confirm because it results in him confirming it as he comes around,
We
being
know
focused on
James
that when he
and
gets killed.
Cappy as well as Wookie are pushing the middle, and they're trying to gain control of it. But Rushers is going to be the one to deny them, as well as Seaquake holding down this angle as Cappy's
Yeah.
going to peek it.
Again, methodical attack. We're not trying to do anything special because we don't have any strats. We're just moving our way up. Moving our way up, working together. I try to revive. Cappy says he killed the dude. Unfortunately, his body dropped off the side into that little thing. I got to revive him. Just bad timing. So we lose 2 people there where we could have had 2 up. So it's unfortunate.
Fume gets definitely just a little bit of his head poking out, as probably Nardu is calling it out.
That flash didn't quite make where Joker wanted to. I know he wanted it to be airburst. Yeah, so this was 3v1 for Wookie. Big ask. He does some rotations to do some shots to maybe try and clear a flanker. See if he can get one. It's all about trying to just treat it one at a time when it's 3v1. And rotate. Got 3.5 minutes. Take your time. Yeah, so he's just took a shot and then he worked his way around.
It's not going to be easy to rotate out of it as well.
Yes, definitely. That is the answer.
Now that they know where he is.
Dippy Snipey. Wait, deflates, or is that Strat? Is it us Strat telling him? No, it's just Strats. Yeah. But if only you heard the tent on this one, we're like, just everyone just work together. Great Strat.
This was just a crazy round.
Watching that intent, we're like, Wookie almost jumped off the boat.
Well, what happened to Mono and I is we were watching the stream, and of course it's behind by 6 minutes. So we saw the end of this, and then I think right as if I remember this correctly, right as this round ended, we got called back. So we didn't know what happened. And we're like, oh my god, it's a 3-3. We have no idea if the match is over yet.
Do we have a relaxing last map or a stressful last map?
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the things that makes it unique.
That's a nice line.
I won't spoil it.
You said you can duck down, get right behind all of them.
This is the thing with these flanks you can make along here. You can do some damage.
The angle in front of him in case anybody.
Because you can just pop up anywhere along there. You just pop up. You can't be ready for it on defense.
I can say I haven't played Quest a ton, but when I have played it, I've had a couple of instances where I ended up shooting the deck on accident, like my barrel runs into it. That's the only thing that makes me cautious about using that. Otherwise, it's fantastic positioning.
Especially if you're good at doing that sideways shot. I'm not very good at that. Good note there. It looked like Wookie stabbed him as he went past. Great thing to do.
For good measure.
Good, definitely. And that was almost our downfall in the next round, as you'll see. It was made the round a lot closer than it should have been. We had the next round wrapped up completely.
And then hope to catch a swinging Squirfian Fume. But they've got a diamond set up right now that really doesn't require any movement.
So you're about to see some really unfortunate stuff and some stuff which should hopefully be removed with 1.8.8. I know they've been doing a lot of work on game stability with this update. Next coming up. Haven't seen it yet, haven't played it yet, just based upon what's been said. So we hopefully won't get things like, wait for it, that. Because he would have got the confirm on rushes, he had sight on Fume and potentially could have got Fume. Maybe could have been trade. This probably ended up being a net positive for Wookie because of the fact he got behind, but at that point he's given away his position. If he'd got that first shot on Squirfy, it would have been like, yeah, that definitely was a positive for Wookie. The fact that he missed the shot made it a bit more balanced. And it would have been an interesting call if we'd won the round. I'm not sure how I would have felt, but if we had won the round there, to be honest. So yeah, it went both ways. Obviously, we came out worse at the end because it had no chance of winning the round.
In some sense, they were offsetting teleports, you could say. The first one.
That's a good question.
kinda
We
aided
will.
its
Yeah,
We'll,
do it
handle
after
that.
this round.
Yeah, after this round, we'll make that as kind of like our stopping point after every map. Start answering questions. But yeah, that was. First of all, hats off to Wookie. That was a hell of an effort, 1v3. He almost pulled that off. I don't know if the teleport would have done it for him. Without the teleport, if he would have gotten that last kill, but it certainly looked like he was on his way to it.
Like we were talking about before, they had the diamond.
But yeah, just some bad luck there.
Wookie
So thanks for the follow, iWheezy. Chat, welcome to the stream. Skip this. I apologize for the skipping, guys, because last time I had the time to create a whole cut in my editing program. I just could not do it before the stream today, so I'm manually doing this. Thank you for bearing with me on that.
So this defense we talked about a setup on this one, which is good. Unfortunately, Wookie. Oh, I thought Wookie got? Where was the C4? Where was it? Can we
find it?
I thought it's behind one of the low down things. So one thing at the moment, I believe I haven't actually done any specific testing on it, as this is just based on what people have told me. But if you have a C4, if you're the person who's put out a C4, so if you're the C4 person, I don't know what you call yourself, and you're crouched behind some cover, the C4 will treat you like you're standing. So it must be that. What this? Oh, the C4 just blew up way above him. That was fine. It wasn't that bug at all. He just threw it and just detonated prematurely. Big mistake coming up here, because I specifically even said to Wookie, it wasn't, again, not a mistake necessarily, but just not understanding the state of the game at the moment. I'm saying confirm that kill, because Wookie's like, he's only down. And we're like, confirm it. And so he goes, boom, shoots the dude. He did put bullets into this body. However, and this is a point worth paying attention to, I believe, again, haven't done testing, but based upon what I've seen, and it would make sense, I believe body armor persists when you get downed. So if you get downed in a manner which doesn't zero out your body armor, so if you get downed by getting shot in the arm or the leg or by C4, I'm not sure if C4 damages body armor, don't know, then you go to confirm by shooting them in the body armor, so in the upper chest region. The body armor will absorb the shots up to its 26 points worth of damage. So just something to be aware of. If you're going to confirm someone, put bullet in their head or their foot. Anything but the upper chest is just better to do, or use at least 3 rounds of a rifle. Yeah, something to note. And that's what happened there. Wookie went for the confirm and saw blood. End of that round was just, trading off 1v1 sort of thing, and then good reactions by Cappy. Good defense.
All right, so as promised, we will address some of the questions we have in the chat now that the map has finished. So Nev asks, I've heard you guys say that you normally prefer taking on players a little to no previous Onward VRML experience. What qualities do you look for in a new player that make them more valuable than a seasoned? I answered first on the last one, so why don't you, James?
I don't know. It's partially wanting to. It's partially the fact that in leaving a team, you don't know the reasoning why they left. It's part of it, but it's wanting to mold someone who doesn't necessarily have their own set ways a little bit. It's partially that. It's a hard one. It's hard to quantify too much. To qualify. It comes down to the fact that a lot of it's also just the players which we have had the time to go through the recruitment process with are not on a team, and the reason we've approached them is because of their conduct generally. It wasn't really a specific thing to start with. It just sort of happened that way, and then we were like, "Ooh," and so yeah. But it does. Yeah, I've given a non-answer. I don't really have a good answer to it. Is the main thing really. It comes back to that previous answer where we're really looking for team and how you mesh rather than necessarily how good you are. Theta, anything to add on that?
I think that's a fantastic answer. The only thing I would bolt on is that a lot of teams, arguably newer teams, but I see more experienced teams do it too, is prioritize pure game skill maybe a little too much. And especially if someone is really, really good, they may develop more of an individual mindset than a team mindset. And not to say that you can have to be that way if you're a really good player, but I think if you've been on a good team, sometimes people leave those teams because they feel like they're not being acknowledged enough. They kind of like absorb that attention in the wrong way, I guess is the way to put it. So if you take somebody that's never been in a league team before, get a fresh start, said, don't have to worry about ego or anything. Just do what you need to create a good. Bono, great example of that. Bono had 0 league experience before joining Mayhem. He went from nothing to diamond level. He's done very well. I wasn't quite that extreme. I was on a silver team, Mayhem. But yeah, it's like
How
you
long?
don't.
You hadn't been playing too long though, had you, Theta? Was it one season?
No, yeah, I technically had 2 seasons, but I'd only played in the last game of my first season. I joined at the very tail end, so I only had 1 full season.
It was a talking point. So Mono brought Theta in, and we were like,
Yep.
He's been on another team, Mono. Is this you gonna back this up?" But it was a good choice. And when like so Potato, Wookie, myself, when we joined, Mayhem was not Mayhem. It was SCK, and it was a silver team, I think, at the time. So it was a bit less of a. We came in from nothing, but and so did Deflade. Deflade started from nothing. He's just been around forever. Um, but it was less of a leap probably than you know Sky Joker and Mono and Cappy. So Cappy we were or it was it when we were still silver, I think. But certainly Sky Joker and Mono came from not playing much at high levels, and they had a silver as well, coming up to that master/diamond level. Um, big leap, a lot of learning to do. Um, yeah.
That's kind of like tailing off another point we were talking about earlier, which is everybody wants to move up really fast. Like it's a punch in the gut to go from bronze or silver to the diamond master level. Like it's a different game. And it's actually better in a lot of ways to just take your time on something like that because it's going to take some adjustment. I know for me, my first season, I had a lot of rough moments because like I had not played at that level before. Just needed some time. And I think, uh, anyway, I won't rattle on about that any more than I need to. So another question from Tony. This one's right up your alley, James. How do you throw any utility to get it where you want it to go? Any specific techniques for the famous nade tosses, I guess?
So I was talking about this earlier, and what do we call League Gen now? I should know this.
Great question.
League Talk.
League talk. There we go.
So part of it is something which you can't learn, and that I have external tracking, and that means I can throw it in what is to me is a natural way, so a proper overhand throw. So that helps a lot. Not no denying that. However, you can still throw with inside out tracking. It's just about learning the manner in which you can do that in a consistent way. But the biggest thing, and I said this earlier about grenade throwing, is not the throw itself. It's about map knowledge, hands down. Like map knowledge, knowing, having a good 3D model of the map in your head, and knowing distances to places, because there's no point practicing one throw over and over. Everything's dynamic. This whole game is dynamic. Like it's like just the same as practicing an attack to the nth degree. Something's going to occur which you haven't planned for. You can't plan for anything, so it's better to be able to adjust. So by having a good picture of the map, you can go, "Oh, something's occurred there," and figure out a throw which could work. So it's combining being able to actually throw it So if you do have a system which doesn't allow you to throw in a natural manner, then you may have to practice. For me, because I can throw it just naturally how I throw in real world, I don't really practice the throwing part too much. But well, I accept the fact that I steal 3 grenades off people every round, so I get to practice quite a lot.
Extorts us
Practice
out of
quite a
our
lot.
nades. He
Yeah,
extorts us
exactly.
out of our grenades, guys. I just want to be very
That's
clear
that's
about
my
that.
practice right there. But yeah, the main thing I feel is map knowledge by far, and then the other thing is um, timing on your grenades. I see so many grenades, like raw grenades getting thrown. You know, you want to pop that spoon and cook it appropriately, because you see a lot of grenades. The throw is perfect. It lands right where it could do damage, and then it just sits there, and the enemy runs around the corner away. It's like, if that had just, when it landed, exploded, it's another level to add to your throw. In that you want to cook for the amount of time, ideally exactly the amount of time for the distance given, and how hard you're going to throw it and all that sort of stuff. And that's sometimes harder, but it's definitely a really important part, especially if you're doing a throw which you're wanting to burst over their head. Then the timing is really critical. Because you may not be able to get it to land on them in a way which would not just scoot on, so they might be up against a wall, and you want it to burst right above them because your throw is coming at a low and hard trajectory. So if you let it go past them, it's just going to explode harmlessly. So getting that timing is really critical for a throw like that. Yeah. Does that sort of answer that?
I think so. I have nothing to
Yeah.
contribute, as you saw my smoke throws earlier. Person to ask about. So I'll just go on to the next question, which is Apollo Graham asks, "What's the best way to go about making sure your team is happy? / how do you make sure that your teammates are not getting tilted and/or giving up?"
It's a hard one. We all, maybe me more so than others, get snappy at times in the tent and say things which we regret saying or we didn't mean in the way which it came out. Um, I think the biggest thing which allows us, Mayhem, to get on with that is because we know each other so well, and we know that it doesn't come from that. It doesn't come from that, that area, or that attitude. It's just it is what it is. It's just in the moment type thing. Whereas, and that comes down to us knowing each other really well and being friends and all that sort of stuff. Um, you have an argument with someone in your family, you take it to a different degree than if you have an argument with some random, person, who comes up and just thinks they know you, sort of thing. So that definitely helps. And then just supporting each other, identifying when that stuff is occurring, and being, not bottling it up, but also not allowing it to go on too long. Addressing it, moving on from, if there is a fuck up, address it, move on. Yeah, but I think the main thing of it is the close knit nature of the team. You're not getting told, "Oh, you fucking idiot!" From, can I swear on Twitch? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. You're not getting told, "Oh, you fucking idiot," from some person you don't really like in your team. You're getting told that from a mate, and you're like, "Oh shit, yep, I was a fucking idiot. I did do something stupid." And you can move on much more easily from that. Yeah.
I think that branches off beautifully from what we were talking about in terms of picking people for the team and like what kind of teams you want to join. It's critical that everybody on the team doesn't have a massive ego, and there's going to be negative moments. There's going to be moments of failure, and you've got to be able to just cope with the stresses of that together. A lot of that too, I will say, it's nice to have somebody on the team who's willing to like take a deep breath even when everybody's feeling tilted and just be like, "All right, guys, not over. Still going to play through this." Or even like, let's say you lost the first 2 maps. That happens sometimes. You don't want to drop the 3rd map. Don't just throw
No.
that away. In fact, I would argue those are the moments where you really show your character. Because some teams, I'll tell you what, you get to the 3rd map and they just give up. And we just mercilessly destroy those teams when that happens, as you should. But you need to fight for every single map, and that means saying, no matter what happens, we're going to stay calm. That's the big one. Can't have a giant ego in that. So again, these are all answers which are not like, it's not a step-by-step, very clear algorithmic answer. It's just something you just kind of have to experience and go through. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but it's just the truth. Let's see. Oh, somebody asked about how we determine lineups, but Defilade shut that down. We must respect the word Daddy Defilade.
What did Daddy D say?
Said we can't reveal how we determine our app line or our lineups. So
Coin flip. Always choose Subway.
Well, no, I think the actual criteria going through James's mind is who's going to give me the most nades this map.
That's yeah.
So that's
definitely
a good formula. All right, so we'll stop for the questions right now. If you guys have any more, drop
It's
them.
actually just one thing on that, and on lineup, and it feeds into the whole team aspect and growing your team and all that sort of stuff. I would suggest one of the best things to do in your first forming season is to have a team of 5 or 6 players. 5 is very hard. 6 would probably be more ideal. It's easier to form a core for your team, and it's easier for everyone to get game time. As you progress through seasons, it's good to expand because you can get better practice and you can play together and have more friends to play with, all that sort of stuff. But if you can, I see lots of teams going all the way for the 8 straight away, and then people are like, oh, I didn't get game time, and they get annoyed about it, and they also don't get to, get that meshing as a group. If you can keep it at 6, and you've got 6 people who are very available, go with that. I think it's just a good side note on the whole team thing.
And I misread the chat. He was actually talking because Spartan asked you how much for the coding that goes into the GPS guidance for your grenades. Definitely, I'd say can't reveal that, but it was right after that question about lineups. So
yeah, well, on the lineup side, mainly it's just who's available, and then it's who's been very active during the week and been around comes into play as well. Also experience, as much as we want to play newer people, and at the moment that's Skyjoker. He's going to be less likely to get played, but we try and make up for that in scrims and challenges during the season. We'll try and do. So if we play one match a week, we try and get another scrim in. Two events a week is what we do, or we try to do. At the moment, it's really only one. And that sort of again leads into the team thing. We're not practicing, every day of the week. We don't really We don't practice. We don't have set practices. We do try and, when we're properly in a season, we try and do a match and a scrim. That's what we do each week. I'll try to, and that means that people don't get burnt out. You're not getting overload with the game. You can properly process the game, and it allows playtime for people who don't play the match. Can still be growing with the team.
And I don't want to add to that because it was such a great answer. So I'm just going to say, let's stop with the questions for the moment. You can still drop them in there and we will answer them after this next map. But for the moment, let's continue the analysis. So we went to Snow Peak for the third map.
Coming every day of the week, each really playing.
Get played mid to longer range, and Mayhem
started on the south base objective. Our sucks, since again we were home, so the first and second, or first and third maps were the ones that we picked.
This is my favorite objective to attack. Gonna say, I'm a bit sad that I die how I die.
Yeah, our death was pretty unfortunate on this one.
I just looked away a little bit and I wasn't ready for it, and they popped out. And yeah, probably could have had a cross cover line from Wookie's position. We were a bit out of sync with where Wookie got to. We pushed up too much based upon where Wookie got to. I think I got a little bit excited about trying to clear out this tower because Wookie was unsure whether he got this dude, whether he confirmed him or he saw another guy. What did he see? Did he see someone else? Is that what he saw? Someone else there?
I don't remember. I just remember feeling confused about what was going on at the tower.
Yeah, he was
giving call-outs about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the tower.
something to point out here is that this tower,
to the
all
point
the
that I felt that I
command
needed to get a line on it, so it meant that I pushed up further than Theta and I, because we're working as a team, pushed up further than Wookiee's cross cover would actually allow. Because there's so many mounds, and you've got players can be on the sides of these mounds and stuff, which there's something to be aware of. You don't want to get too disconnected, or you can get hooked onto really rapidly, as you'll see occurs.
Interesting spot. He's pushed up just a touch further than Seaquick, and he's holding.
So Theta and I are working together, covering lines and stuff, moving up.
Seaquick, he'll be able to ID James or Theta if they decide to push up through that lane. It's a very risky peak, and I think he kind of recognizes the threat there of checking that, and so he's going to drop off. You talk about the stairwell being impenetrable. It doesn't mean his limbs are.
Got the confirm that time.
Manages to find a couple of elbows peeking up from the edge there and gets the kill. It's going to open up this entry point for the Mayhem offense. And
so this is where Theta and I should have paused and let Wookiee push up. But there was a lot of call outs and stuff about this tower going on here. So we bound to the next one to get a clearing, to get a vision on that tower, to try and see what's going on. Yeah, we had Deflade mono encircling. This is a great objective to just encircle and take your time. If you get 1 or 2 picks, you can just then work your way in, and you can. It's quite a dip, the objective, so you can get really good overwatch down onto the objective and across the objective. Yeah. James constantly darting to map. So you're watching the map. If I'm doing any analysis of, like positions of enemies and stuff, I tend to watch the map more than the VOD, because that's what you're seeing how the encirclement's occurring.
You get such a high level understanding of what's going on if you watch the map. This is something I learned from casting, because Noman used to tell us this all the time, like watch the map and not what's going on all the time. That way you can figure out where the action's going to be, but it's also a great way to analyze. As I'm speaking, yeah, Hume gets that peek on us. You were on the radio, right?
I don't know. I was not looking. I remember him just popping up on me and me being like, "Fuck."
And I was watching the backside, and so he shot me in the back because he got you. Didn't work out very well for us that round.
It's unusual for a team to push around on you that late, but I should have been ready for it. It's a risky move. Normally you'd have someone covering from another location to stop that sort of movement, but definitely my screw up there.
Has to worry about his backside as well.
Yeah, with all the commotion Wookiee was causing, I think they kind of lost track of Deflade there. Squirfy, like you mentioned, Deflade was on the Squirfy, and now with just
Deflade mono. Eventually, I think, they do make the right move. They're together quite a lot. I like that mono made it to here and did split. That's definitely the right move. Especially for this, because if there's any rotation by the defense, they cross through an opening for one of those attackers, and if there's any non-rotation, they can only be in a certain number of spots. Especially as you got down to 1 or 2 remaining, because there's only really 2 good spots, which can maybe 3 good spots which can cover the objective adequately, and so you can isolate them to that zone, clear the other ones, work your way through. Most of them are very easy to clear.
That objective just plays very well to how we like to play. Slow, methodical, surround.
Normally our defense is pretty good on this too, but it just collapses a little bit. Something to adjust. We're probably not used to the new layout of this, with these now penetrable but not able to see through corrugations. They used to be open wire fences, like you could see through and stuff.
Thanks, Quest.
Yeah, and
What's Quest doing?
Is that there's more
Oh, thanks Quest players. I thought it was the player.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No. No, I mean, thanks Quest because we can't see through the surfaces anymore.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
changed that to deal with Quest requirements.
Yep. So yeah, we lost Wookie. Normally Wookie gets one from his position. Might need to adjust that. Bit of a push out position. So it's as intended more as an ambush position than really being part of the grid defense.
Nardu continues his push. He's getting danger close to Theta's position. It seems like Theta's almost waiting.
I could hear him. I was like, I'm just gonna push the corner, but Virus was backing him up.
They're ready. So my frag downed one with that first frag, and then the second was moving to confirm, but his body had flown out of the way. And then I'd shot. I thought this fence was penetrable, and I put a lot of rounds through it onto Virus before trading with Fume. But I must have missed, even though I saw exactly where it was, or maybe it's less penetrable than I thought, and it was a 50% reduction, and then going into body armor. So yeah, once that occurred, we collapsed pretty quickly. You can see how if you get a good encirclement on attack, they got the same good encirclement. They're coming from all directions. We collapsed pretty quickly. One of those cascades.
Something you talked about on the last stream, just how this is sort of a game of cascades. Like a small mistake or a small opening in a defense or something opens the floodgates sometimes.
Especially on certain objectives where your defense does rely on a big mesh. Is this the map where some? Yeah, this is the map where I got shot by a position. I was like, it sounded like it was right next to me when I got shot, to the point that I didn't even go on the radio. But it was actually in the tunnels. Really weird sound bug. Like I literally thought he was about 3 meters away from me on the other side of this hill. So I was like, I'm not talking. But he was over, 100 meters away in the tunnel exit. So some weird stuff went on there. You'll see it occur, maybe. You'll see me get down at least. But again, this objective is all about just encircling, clearing the people outside. And if they have committed too many resources outside and you can clear them, then the push in becomes easy. Yeah, so I go down here. I literally thought Fume was just on the other side of that, but he's actually just in the tunnels all the way. So Deflad was like, why aren't you talking to me on the radio? I'm like, I'm not talking. There's a good reason I'm not talking, because the guy's right next to me. But he wasn't even there. Yeah. Some weird stuff went on.
The acoustics on this map can be deceptive. And this one, so Nardu is right in between those boxes, and Mono checked that spot, as you see. So I'm thinking, okay, it's clear. And I come up.
Not clear.
Yeah, I see him at just the last second, but it's not enough to save my life.
Good little piggy angle. Great pick. That pick was needed onto Fume. And rest. 4v2. Good setup. This is where you pause. You wait for everyone to arrive. You pause and you go in together.
It's up to Mono and Wookie who are on objective. If they just wait and play patiently, the rest of this offense will be here, and it'll be a 4-man push against Nardu and Squirfy.
So we're getting a good encirclement. We know there's only 2 left. We can just take our time. No one needs to enter early, or expose yourself to a doorway early. Why not? The rest of this attack, we were a little bit complacent. I did something which I never would do if we were down. The fact that we'd won already. That was a great grenade by Deflade to clear out that position. I think it was Deflade's one. I threw 2 in, he threw 1. I'm not sure which one it landed there. I think it was Deflade's. But yeah, normally I just go for this pick. I thought Deflade was still in this northwest corner, and I thought Wookie was aligned as well. But Wookie had pushed back and gone for a different rotation. Yeah. So I thought Deflade was still northwest, so distracting Nardu. In fact, Nardu's turned around onto Deflade and then sees me straight away. Not ideal. I had the opportunity to shoot Nardu as well. I 100% had the opportunity, and I decided not to take it. If we were, And this is a bad mindset to get into, and we need to reassess and readjust myself based on that. But the only reason I did that is because we'd already won the match, and I wanted to get a cap, and it's the wrong thing to do, and I won't be doing it again.
I remember watching through your POV in the tent, and I was like, this is so uncharacteristic of him to try and rush a cap like this. This does not happen.
I had a shot on him too. I had a shot. I 100% had the shot. I was like, and nah. Definitely has got him distracted. I'll go for it. Yeah. At this point, Naru's guns run out, or bugged out. Wookie can't release his syringe in his left hand, so he's trying to get that out of his hand. He's shaking his hand, and we can see it in this video. He's like, yeah. And then it all just happens to work out. Don't know how Wookie's survived so many crosses.
That was some luck for sure.
Yep. So that round ended up closer than it should have been. Probably a couple of things there to adjust. Make sure we're all coming at the same time, because it could have been 4v2 breaching at the same time, and not getting greedy on a cap. These are spots. Theta, the spots for Theta and Mono are good. One-time use type spots. We discussed them before. We discussed them before the game as being a great one to do. To ambush, and I was talking to Squirfy on purpose, and he talked back. As soon as he talked back, Theta popped out.
Yeah. And then my expectation here was they had somebody right behind him, and they were gonna try to refrag me or utility me or something. And you can see Rushers actually did a really smart thing. He went down to the Heskos down below to look for me, and I think he spotted me because he came over that hill and just shot me immediately. But Mono gets a couple spots.
Yeah. I don't know how he got me, because I thought I was behind that impenetrable box, but apparently my IK was off to the side more than I thought it was, which is annoying. Because I was just sitting behind that impenetrable box. Not sure about this. Very disconnected. Looks like they all went for the breach onto objective. They had people, attacking onto objective, and you got a guy all the way down the garage. Not sure if there's a plan. I'd say not.
Just while we're waiting for Fume to run in the chat, that spot, I'll just tell you, like James mentioned, that's basically one-time use. Like, I fully expect that spot's going to get grenaded in the future, but nobody was using it ahead of time, so it's a nice little bit of surprise.
Good thing about showing that on cast is now someone's going to waste a grenade on it.
Cat and mouse game you play with your opponents when you know you're getting casted is, yeah, your tactics are going to get shown up, but you can also kind of use that against them, because now they're going to expect you somewhere where you're not likely to be.
Or are we? Dun dun dun.
Maybe it's multiple layers of deception going on right here. Yeah. You never can tell.
Good setup by Deflated Wookie here. Backs to the doors, which give them protection, looking across at the other entrances. Yeah, like it. Think we had it? No, we didn't have a good kill count. We had a bad kill count. I killed my person after I was already dead with a grenade, and Mono traded. So they think they're facing 3. That is the strongest cardboard box I've ever seen. So Fume should be dead right about now. Wookie shouldn't have double peeked that.
Dangerous peek.
Yeah, he knows that though. Again, as a right-hander.
So he can at least hold the hallway appropriately, but Fume still has utility. The flash, a smoke.
Pushing through a smoke is an interesting thing to do, because you get blinded, and you're emerging from blindness to multiple angles you're exposing yourself to. So pushing through a smoke like that, not something I'd personally be wanting to do. There are certain situations. Right, so next round, attack of the South Central. I quite like attacking this one. Again, it's one of those ones you can circle. I hate defending this one. Wookie spots him. He shoots. Wookie half spots him. Says he's behind the tank, but he's further back than that. But there was enough information to work with. We both knew that because he was there, there's only a certain area in which he can
Scorpy knows he
retreat
has to
to
be in the garage, so he rotated, took a
before
different
then
route,
re-exposing himself.
avoiding sort of
So we
the
knew he was somewhere in this sort of zone.
3 exits
So we
to
just
the
work our way up together.
Maybe his
That's what
play
happens
is
with
to
that
like
one.
get
In the center,
whether it's
Deflay's just
passive,
because of the base on the spawn,
time,
he
or
adjusts
maybe
his line
you're playing it
and
carefully.
gets cover down onto those Heskos from
Clear
there.
a lot of these corners in the garage.
But that was adjusted
this
based on the
garage
spawn.
is a kind of a tricky
Normally we
spot.
don't adjust too much based
You
on
have to
spawn, but
worry about
there
a
are certain things you
defensive
can do
player
to
pushing you
adjust
at
on
any
spawn.
point in this garage, just
Because it's
you
more
once
about
you
where
get
we
to
want to
the
end up
outside of the garage,
than
there's all kinds of
particular
other
route.
defensive angles that they can take, and so, like you said, a lot of different spots that they have to clear.
I'm just clearing certain
Sure,
zones.
Scorpy
Wookie
really
has a
got
safer route he
sprinting
can
for
clear up
Wookie
to.
on
I've got
the
a lot to
outside of
clear.
this wall, so information for him as well. But true
Wookie
to the
being
Mayhem,
loud and pre-firing and stuff
style,
is a
they are
great thing.
coordinated nicely. James is also creeping
Draws
up.
all that attention.
Draws that attention. Yep.
Yeah, James
And it's
can
safer for him to
sort
do
of
it because he doesn't have
as
really have a position where someone can
distract
get onto him
Wookie, but will he
without a
live there
very
is the
risky
question.
maneuver.
That is an interesting tight little spot. We'll have to
By
see
this
what
point, I've
happens.
eliminated most
Where's
possibilities, so I know
Mono?
he's either behind one of these sandbags or in this spot here.
Just some tiny
Um,
footsteps from James. James
So
gets the
yeah,
knee of Scorpy
I
first,
was
and down
pretty
he
confident that he's going to
goes.
be in that position.
A solid kill and a solid start to this round for the Mayhem offense. They can now make an entry
And then
down through this
Wookie and I push up
south
and get
lane.
talking to
We'll
each
come
other,
up
and I get
through
shot because I'm
next to
talking
his
to Wookie
holding
instead of
here.
concentrating on the game.
Shots ringing out again from Virus, who's still holding against the likes of Deflate and Mono.
So Mono and I were going across the lake, and we were leapfrogging between rocks, and then Rusher started firing at us from the bunker. I called out bunker, and I thought I got him, but then he popped out behind on those Heskos and got Mono, and then I got him when he repeaked again.
Nice shot. Not an easy one.
Yeah, now the
I just want to
closest
point
defender
out,
to the last one's alive.
put this in the
He
chat
has
real
just
quick.
one coming out of the garage. Can he find Wookie now?
These shots are made possible by Boak VR stocks.
He's got the flashes. He's got the utility.
Wasn't actually getting at that. I was just complimenting the shot, but thanks.
Oh, I know. I'm just voluntarily advertising because it does make shots like that much easier.
And now Wookie has to be a little bit cautious.
That's just the signatures, no cheek weld, which is nice.
Theta has
Because of the cross-eye dominance.
Yeah, I can't use the marksman. Does not work with the cross-eyed dominance, unfortunately. So Deflate and I started.
Deflate at this point is running, just as a note, is running with 2 flashes. He's running with a flash in each hand. So there's 2 from his hands, and then he's got a smoke, and then he's got a frag. Oh, that frag could have been so good. Just a tiny bit more.
Definitely just threw an entire inventory of utility. He had Virus, and then he had to shoot him at the end of it.
He saw him on his screen there. He thought these were penetrable. It looked like he shot him. He shot Nadu, but I think there are some barrels in there. So maybe Nadu went behind the barrels. Because I was watching Deflate's screen. I'm like, you seen him. You shot at him. Oh, you shot him. And then it's like, oh, he's not dead. I was like, oh. So yeah.
Deflate and I just ended up surrounding that, and it worked out.
Yeah.
So, real exclamation point to that match. Pretty well. But now that we have finished, I want to just check the chat real quick. Are there any more questions? Just been looking around. Okay, so while I'm doing that, Lego just dropped one. So I know Theta gets a little nervous when going into a league match. Emphasis on a little, not that bad. But what about the whole of Mayhem and or James? It's relatively normal to be nervous, right? I know I was shitting bricks before my Vikings match.
Yeah. I used to get very nervous to the point that I'd be trying to cap, especially it coming up to a cap. So I used to get nervous in match, like actually during the match. I get like come up to like a cap, and it sometimes occurs in weird situations, but generally not in a match. But I used to be the point where I literally shaking and not be able to type in the numbers when capping. But now I don't get nervous once the match has started, but I get a bit nervous leading up to it, and I will be playing plays in my head and through the night before and leading up to it, running through different scenarios and all that sort of stuff. Especially when I haven't really felt like I've done any sort of research, which at the moment is, since having Henry has been the sort of norm. Haven't done, just sort of had to figure it out as we go in. I don't know about anyone else in Mayhem. Who else gets nervous? I assume Deflate never gets nervous, just based upon what Deflate's like.
He's just an emotionless creature. Just so cruel. All right, yeah, obviously I can't extend that because they're asking about everybody else. If there's any other Mayhemians in the chat, feel free to drop it in there. Defilade. So Navaste asks, what factors do you consider when you're attacking with 2 people and have the option to advance together or split up?
So it really depends. It will depend a lot on the objective, in my opinion. So I talked about that subway one where it's an objective in which the defense really does have to rotate, and if you do get a pick, then that rotation is going to come out. And it doesn't really have an attacking direction which has too much strength over the other. Where you might want to stick together, I don't know where you want to stick together too much, to be honest. When there's a chance that you might get flanked on, could be a good time to stick together. When there's a chance, when you're running out of time, when there's a chance that using a more linear attack and clearing your way through might work quite well. So maybe a good example for that is if you have, and again, it is actually still quite nice to have the other direction, but if you have good established control on subway on the low down objective, the one in the north or south railway track, it's quite nice if you get control at the south to move your way linearly along, and you can clear pretty much in front of you. And working with someone works really well because as you're clearing through, there's multiple spots where people can jump out on you. So if one person's watching one side as you're moving, so that if someone pops out, the other person can shoot them. That works really nicely. So it's, yeah, if you're moving through open zones like that. So, but if you're more operating from a cover point where, and especially that subway upstairs objective where I mentioned it earlier, where there's not really 2 good spots for 2 people to be. So you can't be split up and still be 2 effective people. You are both wanting to be breaching the same corner together, and your effective firing line is from that last corner onto objective, and that's really a one-man spot. So you can't work as a team on that one corner. Whereas if you have a wider zone where you're moving up and you can work as a team with your bounding and stuff, then it might be better to stick together. So it's really situation dependent, and it's based on how many enemies are up, based on what type of utility you got, based upon what sort of cover you've got, your final approach to objective, whether you can get a power position from above, which will then support a push in from another location, whether a different power position from above can clear a key zone which the other location is worried about. So if I'm sitting in a location and I'm like, I can clear all this and I can move through all this, but there's a position here I can't see. And to get to the position where I can clear that, I'm wanting to be worrying about other things. So I want that position to be cleared by someone else. That's when someone going around and clearing just that one position from a different location is really effective because I don't have to worry about that. It's cleared. Then I can focus on the zones in which I'm wanting to move towards. Yeah. So basically, like most of Onward, it's very situational dependent, and there's no
Excellent.
real one rule.
It's the hard part about this game is everything is situational. It's just truly you could say that about almost every important element of this game. Okay, so 2 questions from Freck that I'm seeing in the chat. Number 1 is, do you guys ever do a 5-man push? And number 2, how should you deal with a team with a solid sniper?
5-man push, generally not, because the one major downside of a 5-man push is if you're identified as being a 5-man push. If you're identified as being 5-man, which can often occur, like they count 5 people doing a certain cross, or they hear different guns, if you can figure out there's 5 men there, then the defense can lock you into that location. A 4-man push, however, is a tool which we do utilize, and I think is quite a good tool to have. A 4-man push still gives you that really big, powerful push through, and you can work together to push through a hard zone, but it leaves someone somewhere, which the defense needs to worry about. And that somewhere person can give that alternate line to get a shot on someone or something like that. The 5-man push, when used all of the time, can be a crux. And you saw that at the end of last season, where it was ALG or Peacekeepers were using it as their tool, and it was very effective for them, and it worked really well when it was more of a new strat. But as soon as it became identified as something they were doing very often, it was quite easy to shut down. Because we were just ready, and as soon as we realized it was a 5-man push, we're like, 5-man push, and we adjusted, and we could just be like, sweet, we can lock this 5-man down. They're stuck. They're now moving their zone in which they control as a bunch together. We can get lines to stop them going backwards. We can get lines where we know they're going to have to cross at some point. We can chuck frags in. We can, all that sort of stuff. And we don't have to worry about anyone else in any other location. Whereas you wouldn't be able to do that with a 4-man push. Just something to note. Yeah.
Dealing with a sniper.
Dealing with a sniper. Ideally, you have a solid counter sniper. That's probably the best thing to do. Or you're really looking at banning Downfall. Downfall is really the only pure long range map now. So Snow Peak is a mixed map. It's either really close range, medium long range, maybe one longish range objective, but it's more medium / very close range, more of a wildcard map. Quarantine is no longer long range. It's a big map. It has a lot of rotations, but most engagements on Quarantine will occur at a medium short range. There are certain lines you can hold with a sniper, but when you're trying to deal with a sniper, you can just choose not to expose yourself to those locations as an attacker or a defender or whatever. So you don't have to engage the sniper. You don't have to allow the sniper to be effective on the Quarantine. Downfall is the only map in which a sniper can be effective, and you have to actually deal with that sniper. So if you don't have a good counter sniper, if you don't have effective means of dealing with that sniper, ban Downfall. Probably the best way of doing it. If you're not banning Downfall and you wanted to take the sniper on, then identifying where the sniper is, so using things like Marsoc drone, because it's a defensive sniper you're probably a bit more worried about, and an offensive sniper on Downfall, just tuck yourself in. Do not expose yourself to any windows. Do not expose yourself to those long lines. Tuck yourself in on defense. So you're talking about more about a defensive sniper, maybe on Downfall, where you do have to deal with that sniper, and that sniper is going to be a major threat. And to deal with that, you want to first identify where he is, So that's through your counter sniper. You'll do it with the 6x scope, or /12 times. And you'll do it with, maybe a Marsoc drone. Once you've identified where he is, then suppressive fire, using the terrain to get to a location where you can engage at closer range, leaving them as an option, leaving them, dealing with the rest, and then forcing rotation or approaching the objective in a way in which you cannot see is also an effective thing. You don't have to necessarily engage. Yeah, again, not a one definitive way answer, but gives some options for dealing with sniper.
I'll just add, if you guys want to see an example of what James is talking about in terms of how you should deal with offensive sniper, or I should say a counter example, is there was a game week 1. I don't remember off the top of my head who the teams were, but an offensive sniper got a team wipe. And a lot of it was just because they were not...
Resin Mafia versus someone.
Yes.
Emma Kozik with a bolt action sniper rifle.
Yep.
He got 4 kills with the bolt action, and the final kill with a Mark 16. He picked up a body, killed the dude on the north side of Lower Dumpster inside Darkroom.
Yep, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, that should not have happened. Like, that was defenses not... That defensive positioning was just not great because an offensive sniper should not be able to just pick you off like that.
Yep.
Obviously, he's a good. I'm not trying to denigrate his skill or anything. I'm sure he's good at it, but that was just too much peeking. And on downfall, you have the advantage on Volk. So if you have an offensive sniper, there is no reason to be peeking constantly. You should be tucking in and watching your line.
Yep. No, there's lots of peak kills. Shouldn't have occurred. And he didn't move location either. He got most of those kills. I think he got 4 of those kills from what we call North Brothel, or what people that northwest spawn building. I think he got 4 of those kills from that location or from somewhere in that zone. So yeah, I think he got 14 kills on the board in that match with a team kill in there as well. So whatever that is, 15 kills, which is insane. 15 kills is a carry, massive carry in a league match.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. We have consistently had over 20 people on the stream this entire time. I think 26 or 27 was our peak. So thank you everybody that's here. I'm going to give you guys another few seconds if anybody has additional questions. If you don't, we'll call it a night. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes. So pretty good session so far. Again, one last call for questions, and if there's nothing, we will just wrap it up.
And just one thing I want to add: if you like these analysis streams, or if you like watching our games in general, the best way to do that is to vote in the matches page that you're interested in seeing our match, because casters will look at that and go, "Oh, there's 40 people interested in watching the match," and they're more likely to pick it up then. So if you do want to see that, spread the word, get people to vote on it, get more matches. We like getting cast, so we're not going to be upset about it if we get more casts. And as long as we're giving you guys something good to watch, then it's good to get casts.
Agreed. So, in case you guys aren't familiar with it, on the VRML website, there is a matches page, and there's a voting function next to every match that says, basically, I want to see this get casted. And the more votes there are, I can tell you this as a caster, James is a caster too, we have a separate view of that, and it shows us that, and we can assign ourselves to that. And that's generally what casters look at. They're looking at who has the most votes. That means there's interest in that. That means they'll get views. So they will cast those. If you want to see more of these analysis streams, and if you want to see more Mayhem play, make sure you're voting for our matches every week. Like James said, we want casts. It's useful for us to analyze our own play, and obviously you guys enjoy these because you're here watching it. So we appreciate any support you have, any support you offer us. Also, just real quick, Nev, I have a leap motion unit on the way, so on the next one I should be able to actually move my hands. Yeah, instead of just being this like this avatar has just got this stiff mid body. Anyway,
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I don't see any more questions, so I think we'll just wrap it up for tonight. So thank you again to everybody who showed up. Oh, and wow, thank you for one last subscription. Nev just going off tonight. Thank you. Schizo, you want to ask something? I'll give you. This is like on the wire. This is on the wire. But is Theta a living organic being?
Brain in a jar, brain in a vat. That's sort of living, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
as much as you can call that living.
Yeah, this is just a representation I'm giving you guys because you don't want to see the brain in a vat. There's nothing to look. So Schizo said he had a question. We're just sitting here waiting for that. Oh, here we go. Ooh. Okay, want to ask something? We K5. Oh, okay. So that's right. You play for the new team from Korea. So first of all, welcome to the league. I've played with some of you guys. You guys are really good. I have high hopes for you. We are making tactics, but it's hard because we are catching ourselves by details. So I want to ask this: when you're making tactics, going deep or just simple, what do you think, James?
So when you're first starting out, you do need to go a little bit deep, certainly in the thinking, to understand the different scenarios which can occur. as you get more experience, you just know those scenarios and they just more naturally come. On attack, I personally am not a huge fan of really planned attacks. They can work really well, and there's certain scenarios which do work really well. But when you're planning something to a high level of detail, um, when an event occurs, your plan may not be able to adjust. So if you are relying on a certain thing occurring in an attack, and that person dies early on, then you need to make sure that your plan is able to adjust to that. So it may be better to have no plan or a looser plan in which you've got an idea about where you want to end up, but in terms of what happens to get, to get there, um, doesn't matter that much. And it might end up that the idea is that we want to have someone on this side of the objective and someone on that side, and you send 3 this way and 3 that way, and then these 2 to die over here, and one of the people off this 3 goes, oh, I'm going to peel off, and it'd be a 2-1 now, because we do want to have that position. We know that position is important to have on the attack because of this reason. Again, like I talked about earlier, it might be able to clear a critical zone or something. Defense, I feel like defense you can spend time on. Spend more time on defense. You want to think about lines of cover. You want to think about whether you want to have some more trick plays like a flank. You want to decide what works for you, but you really want to spend the time to make sure that you have objective cover. You see a lot of newer teams getting capped on, and getting capped on is brutal for 2 reasons. One, generally maps are more Volk-sided. That's why if a team picks a map, generally the other team picks Volk. So if you get capped on, you're not only losing a round in which you're on Volk and you should statistically win more often, but you're losing it with 2 points. So you've got a massive uphill battle. So focus on not getting capped on. Focus on making sure you've got that objective cover with cross lines of cover, and how to adjust. So maybe a really good thing to focus on is your 2 or 3 man defense. Again, you're not likely to have everyone survive every round. So you need to make sure that your defense is able to cover the objective with either 2 or 3 people remaining. And that's something maybe to focus on. And then you can treat those other 2 as more of reserves or able to shore up positions as required. But if you focus on like how your defense is going to work with 2 or 3 men, then you can decide what to do with those other resources. Either do something unusual like a flank, or do something like they can support after someone dies, or things like that. Making sure you have someone who's able to make those adjustments on the fly, be in one of the most compressed positions, is important, because they need to be alive to make those calls, to allow those adjustments. Eventually get to the point where anyone on the field can make those calls, and they will make those calls, but certainly to start off with it's more likely that someone in your team is going to have that skill set above others and is going to be able to call those adjustments. It comes into being tablet aware, being aware of all the approaches to the objective, being aware of where your other friendlies are and what they can see and what they can cover, calling to them. Do not say things like, someone cover that. Assign specifically who's doing it, because you'll get bystander bias or bystander, whatever it's called. So you need to be specific on, Theta, you are covering this approach. I'm covering this approach. That means Theta knows he's covering that, and he knows that I'm covering that, and whoever else is up is covering that. And then he knows that if I die, that approach is no longer covered, and he needs to make a call to ensure that that approach is covered by the other people. Yes. So plan some stuff out to detail, but less on other stuff. You can spend a lot of time out of game. I spend, or certainly spent in the past, more time out of game than in game. Doing things like looking at what other teams do, seeing whether, again, just getting a feel for an enemy team you're going to face that week. You sort of, if they've got casts, you get a little bit of a feel for the sort of thing they might do, and looking just generally at positions which are used commonly, because there's a reason they're probably used commonly. They're probably quite powerful, and you can either choose to, when you're attacking, you can choose to specifically counter that position with like a grenade or something, and you were with your defending, you can choose to either use that position or use a position which covers someone who might be trying to clear that position. So gets into layers then. Yeah, lots of talking about that. Hopefully that's given you some information, Schizo. Yep.
Right.
Okay,
And
cool.
Eklak slipped another question in while you were answering that. He just asked, do you guys plan for specific opponents? And then he followed it up with, to what extent do you adjust your plans for specific opponents? Excuse me, specific opponents, since you would be doing that based on assumptions.
Right. So season 8, I before every match would have a dossier on each opponent. It would have what their strats were, what their positions were for every map. Go through all the casts they've ever done. I'd spend quite a few hours every week on it, and detail it out to a high level of high degree, and to the point in which I could call out position of players by name and certain things. That has degraded a lot since I had a child. Time no longer exists, so now we tend to not plan at all for opponents. There is sometimes some, and sometimes we'll be like, Theta, you watch their bazaar, and I'll watch their downfall, and we'll just have a quick look at them and jot down a few positions they commonly use, and that's it. But overall, there's much less, and we just more rely on our communication and our own strats. We know all of the common positions on all the main maps, so we just have to clear all of them rather than clearing very specific ones. Yes, so maybe when you're forming and learning and moving up the ranks, it's a good thing to do, a very good thing to do. If you have time, it's a good thing to do more of, even as you're at a higher level. But you got to remember there's other stuff outside of Onward, and don't get too burnt out by it. It's just something to be careful of. Yeah.
That's something you see a lot on new teams. They just burn themselves out. See, it's just not good for you. At the end of the day, this is a game. You should enjoy it. Should not burn you. So great advice. Also, just want to give one more acknowledgement to Nev. She has given a dozen subscriptions, whatever you want to call them. Even though I have a Twitch channel, I'm not terribly well versed in Twitch stuff either, as crazy as that sounds. So thank you again, Nev, for that inspiration for everybody in the cult. So I don't see any more questions. I'll give one more moment. See if
there's
anybody
one
else.
thing to which Joker mentioned. I'm not sure if he was jokingly saying it, but he said that I heard away teams can request Marsoc on a map they didn't pick. Yes, if you, and we've done it once before on a map where we thought that it was more Marsoc biased. If you pick the map, you do not get to pick sides. The other team picks sides. So if you're the home team, you can choose with the first and the third map. You can either pick the side or pick the map. So if you want to just pick the side instead, you can say, we will take Marsoc or we will take Volk. You guys can choose the map, and they'll choose the map. Or you can say, actually, no, you don't say we take Marsoc, we'll take Volk. You say, we will choose the side. What map do you want? And they'll pick the map, and then you go, okay, we're going to choose the side. Or you can choose the map, but if you choose the map, you do not get to choose the side. And so the other team can choose which side they want. Most commonly, because of the way in which the game historically has been, there's an advantage to a defending team because they can establish a position and hold their lines, and so it's more common to see Volk get picked. But it's not a hard and fast rule. Yeah,
All right.
sorry, I just wanted to clear that one up.
No, that's worthwhile. So choosing map does not mean you start as Marsoc by default.
No, it's just through that history of Volk being more often the side chosen by the team which didn't choose map.
Okay,
Yeah, you should. If you chose the map, you should wait until they pick a side first. generally. So if you choose map and go into the lobby, you should wait, and then if they're coming in, if you've been there and you want to go onto a side, when they come in, just check, did you guys want Volk? You're like, oh yeah, we did. Okay, sweet. And you just stay where you are.
Hecklack. Slipped in another question. What do you think about the map 5 week or map 5? I think week 5.
The
map
three,
pool?
you're talking about the fact that there's 5 weeks for each pool, 3 pools. I think it's a good mix of having some variety without completely overwhelming things with the change up. I like that. Well, I hope I'd like that because I was involved in it. I like that there's still certain numbers of each size of map, so we're not like suddenly got a pool with all small maps. There's still that historical mix. So we looked at the history of what map sizes generally should be, and you take into account that actually map sizes have reduced overall because quarantine's become a closer range map than it historically was. Anyways, we looked at that and was like, okay, 3-2-3, eight maps seems like a good amount to allow bands to still have some effectiveness, and that sort of mix of small, medium, large is a good one. And then we want some change to the pool, but not the whole pool changing, because the whole pool changing is a massive, massive amount of work. For teams, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've got to go through all this work again. I'm not enjoying this." You still want people to enjoy. You look like you're sitting on my lap. Oh, wait, which side do I go? Hey, Theta.
Oh no, no!
I'm.
That's why I enjoy these
Um,
streams. Great chat, great guest here. All right, sorry, I was interrupting what you were saying.
No, I think I said it. Yeah, I think I've talked enough today.
All right. Well, one more time, I'll just give a last call. Amazing how stable the viewer count has been. So again, thanks to everybody. I know I've said this multiple times, but I'm always just blown away by the support the community shows. It's much appreciated. And yeah, I think we'll call it at that one. We're right around, what is it? Yeah, we're just about to hit the 2-hour mark. So I think that's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good time. So we will call it for tonight. Thanks everybody for showing up. And again, you want to see more of these, let us know in the cult, vote for our matches, and we will oblige. Have a good one, everybody.
See you around.